Good afternoon, Haiti Oropesa. We are here this afternoon with uh, Hillsborough candidate for public defender, Hillsborough County public defender Lisa McLean. Joining me is my co-host Stephanie Pointer, and we have another guest that's joining us because I'd like to ask him about something that I received some information about recently in the community during a candidate forum. Elvis Pickett, who's also a candidate right now, he's running for Hillsborough County School Board District 5. District 5. And so he has a lot of support. I'm supporting him for that. I think that he would do a great job. There's another candidate that's also has filed, Tammy Schamberger, but I think she'd be delighted also whether she won or Elvis won, because I think her opinion is that he'd be a great, um, he'd do very well in that role. Okay, so Stephanie.
All right. Hey, good afternoon. How is everybody doing this afternoon?
Awesome.
Hey,
Lee,
Stephanie.
how are you?
I'm well.
Can I ask you to give us what I normally ask is the basic, Lisa? Just tell us who you are, where you come from, why you're running for office, and just in the 1 to 2 minute spiel on who you are.
Sure. So I've been a lawyer in Hillsborough County for 34 years. I'm board certified in criminal trial law. I've spent my entire career serving the community, whether I've done it as a prosecutor, a statewide prosecutor, a public defender, or in private criminal defense work, which is what I've been doing since 2006. You know, my experience in Hillsborough County is such that I am the best candidate for this job. You know, it's an issue of building relationships, knowing how to be a zealous advocate for your client and yet still be able to communicate effectively with the judiciary and with the state attorney's office. It's been mentioned by my opponent that I don't have the experience to hit the ground running as the public defender. And, you know, I think it's important to note that when Julie Holt ran for public defender, she'd been a lawyer for about 10 years and had no administrative experience. I've been a supervisor at both the public defender's office and at statewide prosecution, where I not only had to work with my comrades in Hillsborough County, but also interact with folks all over the West Florida area and Tallahassee. So I've got the experience that it takes to do this job. I have the temperament, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to get back to full-time public service.
Well, thank you for coming on with us today.
You know what, though? I do want to jump in real quickly because what she said is lost on a lot of people. That it seems to be. Listen, I haven't been, and every one of you who are constantly going to forums, I've not been to any forums. Okay, I've remained very busy taking care of my private practice. But I'll tell you what, that I've gotten a lot of feedback that her opponent, Lisa's opponent, keeps bringing up that she's not prepared. She's been practicing since 2006, including as a public defender. So were you a prosecutor at any point, Lisa?
Yeah, so I actually started practicing law in 1990 as a certified legal intern at the state attorney's office, and then began my career in public service as an assistant state attorney in Tampa. I worked there for about a year and a half before I actually walked into the public defender's office on day one of Julie Holt's administration. So I was a part of the formulation and implementation of policy in that office, and changes that she was able to make. That I think that she made some great changes, but I think that things have become very stagnant and it's time to move forward. I mean, government should be positive. We should be thinking about forward progress and the things that need to change in that office, not sitting back and saying, hey, we don't need to change everything. Everything's
That's another point. Thank you for saying that, because that's another thing that I've heard from community activist members who every now and again we talk and they kind of give me a little bit of the rundown of what's been going on in the races. And so I've been told that your opponent says that nothing needs to be changed. And that alone, to me, has a big question mark, red flag. Anybody that says that, if I wake up tomorrow morning and I say that I don't need to change anything about Haiti Oropesa, that's insane. Every system, the iPhone, every system that we have technologically continually improves and upgrades. That is the truth. For an office to say, or for a candidate that wants to lead an office to say that there's no other changes that need to be made, that's problematic for me. But I think it's an unfair shot, political shot, to say that Lisa McLean is not prepared, because she does have not only experience from the defense side, but from the state side. And she's a successful business owner. Okay. And the truth is, it's intellectually dishonest to say that she doesn't. When Holt ran, she only had 10 years under her belt, and she never had experience as a public defender or leading the office. And look at how, in many regards, she's been successful. So it's a pot shot. What do you think, Elvis?
Well, I most definitely cringe when I hear that from any politician. I think any politician on any level, when they say that, it's so disingenuous. And the reason for that is every individual that run for public service, you run because you want to make a difference. You run because you want to serve your community. And everyone that runs, your first time running, when you was elected or whether you did not get elected, that is your first time dealing with that job. And so the mayor of our city had never been the mayor before. She was the chief of police. It doesn't make her disqualified to be the mayor. I mean, you name someone that had done the job before they won the election. Andrew Warren had never been a state attorney before. I mean, so that's a bit disingenuous when we hear
George
that.
Washington, the first president that had never had experience
Never
before.
been the president before. You don't have experience in the job. You run for the job, and every one of these elected positions has a proper protocol and process which you follow to learn the job and get back in it. When the state representatives became state representatives, I think Diane Hart, she's on the ballot. Great state representative. But I can remember all of Tallahassee going through the trainings, going through all of the, you are trained for the job when you are elected by the people. You go in with your ideas, your vision, and how you're going to make the department better. And so I do disagree when you say someone is not trained or not prepared for the job. It's disingenuous, and it's most definitely a disrespect, because anyone that put their hand out there and put their name out there to serve the public and do the best that they know how ought to be celebrated.
So we're going to go on real quickly, and I promise I'm going to just make 2 points, and then everybody else has the floor, and I'm going to stay quiet, and then you'll have a good 20 minutes to discuss whatever you want to discuss. But 2 things: demeanor. I know that I addressed at least with Rocky Brancato some feedback from some individuals about his demeanor. He did not agree with that assessment. And so, I'm in the middle. I really don't know what judgment I can make, because I have one person or some people saying issues about his demeanor and him disputing that. So I kind of, let it go. That's it. And so now he's a candidate. And if I had a doubt in my mind about that, because there's one side and the other side, and it's kind of like, for me, it cancels out because I wasn't there. I haven't seen any snapshot where I can see his demeanor. I learned a couple of weeks ago that there was a candidate forum. He's at the Tiger Bay forum, which I was able to see online, where he says he's going to keep it bipartisan. He doesn't want to get political. He's just going to focus on it. We're going to see a clip of that shortly. The politics of the office, just making it a better office. And because of the tone of politics and this and that and the other, but I heard it got back to me that his demeanor, if I had any doubt before, the way that it was reported to me, and that's why I brought you on, Elvis, because I don't want hearsay. And he's invited for sure. Cato Nord, I told Cato Nord, since I saw that he is working as a photographer, that he could extend an invite. He's welcome. Rocky Brancato is welcome on Florida You Judge to come in and respond to anything that's being said today, because fairness is a thing for me, due process. So, but if I had any doubt based on what I heard, and you can either confirm this, and of course Brancato can come on and dispute this, but I heard that, and in fact, there's online comments that I'm gonna post in a couple of seconds where two other people are saying that were present, saying it took a really ugly turn, and Lisa kept it professional, and it got ugly with Rocky Brancato. So if that's true, what was told to me, that what happened at a Candy Lowe's Tea and Conversation, that there he himself produced evidence of what is being told, or is some of the things that are said about his demeanor in the past. Elvis, what happened?
Well,
What did you witness?
I will say it wasn't a candidate forum. It was basically just a celebration of Candy Lowe 19th anniversary. And all of the candidates, people wanted to come to pretty much celebrate her in that endeavor of 19 years. What she had done was allow each candidate to speak and just let all the people in the room know who they are and what they're running for. That was it. And really, who you are, what you're running for, and give the people a little spiel. And Rocky, Rocky got up, and I want to make it clear that I wasn't going to even comment concerning it. And I wasn't commenting because I was a candidate. And I said, I don't want any enemies, but I really believe the reason why I'm who I am is because I'm willing to speak truth to power. And I think at the end of the day, that makes me significant. When we talk about this event, before I talked with Lisa, well before this event, I was a supporter of Rocky. I supported Rocky off of the merit of when I call Rocky concerning different things, he's always present. He do try to answer the phone. The twist came when I start seeing and hearing, because no matter how I support you, I want change. There is change needed in the public defender's office currently. When I start seeing that there was a consistency of you can't change anything because everything Julianne Holt has done has been great. She is a phenomenal public defender. She's represented this country, this county well. But change is inevitable in the public defender's office. So when I saw that he was refusing to do that, I said, let me look at the other candidate. I listened to her through forums. I listened to her go around the community and show that she did not only just come to make a change for the community, but she wanted to have a change in the public defense office. This event, while we're sitting here, he gets up. If I had any ounce of me that was going to vote for Rocky, it absolutely went out the window. Not only did it go out the window, but the reality is it was disheartening, it was hurtful, it was disrespectful to mankind. Me being a black man, had I acted the way Rocky acted at that event, I would have been deemed to be angry, disgruntled, terrible, outrageous. I had never seen a candidate. This is not a dirty politics. This was in your face, absolute disrespect. I had never seen a candidate. He was red. His veins was popping out of his neck. He was fired up. She's not my friend. Lisa, she's not my friend. She's not prepared. She can't do this job. Never want to put your trust in someone that walked away from the job. Terrible. Terrible. That behavior that day, to disrespect somebody in that manner and to think it's okay without an apology, absolutely was a turnoff for me. It's no way possible a person that was sitting in that room will go cast a ballot for Rocky Brancato. As sad as it is, I thought Rocky was better than that. I was shocked to the place where when I saw Rocky again at the forum, at the skills center, I couldn't even walk. I have never been in a room with Rocky and not spoke to Rocky. I couldn't even walk up and greet Rocky. I just think that he needs to say, he need an apology. And I hope that the community that was there are able to go out and spread the word and let the people know that this is what we're dealing with. We can't just talk about dictatorship, talking about we got a dictator, Donald Trump, and everybody got to throw hands at how terrible. If Rocky's behavior was okay at tea and conversations, I don't need to hear another Democrat talk about Donald Trump behavior. Not
And
another.
so this is a social media reaction right after it. Alicia Whiting Bostic, I think I've seen her once at Tea and Conversation, kind of Lowe's, when she was running for judge. She was present and she reported on her social media that I also want to give a shout out and congratulations to Candy Lowe, 19 years running Tea and Conversation. Very proud of her and congratulate her. But Alicia, in addition to congratulating her, made a comment about what she'd witnessed the day before. I also wanted to give a shout out to Lisa McLean for your utmost professionalism today. You handled your response to the personal attacks with such grace. And here's another individual, Kim. Yes, it took an uncomfortable and ugly turn yesterday. If you were able to read the room, and I was, the speaker would have realized everyone was uncomfortable. But Lisa handled it with grace. So, you know what? A couple of years ago, I had one side saying, a couple of people telling me Rocky Brancato has a demeanor issue. So they're concerned about him leading the office. I'm almost positive that I did discuss that with him. He didn't agree with that assessment. And so I can't make a judgment because I've never seen a demeanor issue with him. But then here now with this, it's kind of possibly confirming what other people have told me about their concern about his demeanor. Okay. This is a job that I did. I worked there for 1 year. Okay. You get paid more in the private sector for sure. I'm experiencing that now. I left after almost 7 years of service as a public defender into private practice. It is financially more beneficial because, you know, they can only pay what they pay and what the legislature gives them money to pay. But I'll tell you what, that there's a camaraderie. I'm not going to get it. Camaraderie. Can somebody help me?
Camaraderie.
Thank you. Camaraderie. There. Yay. That exists there because it is God's work. You're serving indigent, poor people. Okay. And the spirit that's there for the most of the individuals that are there, not only to get experience because they believe in that mission, that persons that don't have money should have as good representation as people with money. Okay. Just so it's a good thing. But when you are kind of sacrificing somewhat because you're not getting paid as much as you should get paid and the caseload is overwhelming, the last thing that you need is stress to be put on top of you by someone that's above you administratively that's going to have a demeanor issue. So for that reason, I have stayed pretty silent in this race. That's the truth. I've not been prolifically online, but I wanted to say something about that for attorneys that start out new there, that have been working there, that are burned out, whatever. That should be removed. Unless you're doing a bad job, you should be not treated in a manner that's going to add stress to an already stressful job.
And I would say this real quickly. When we look at the landscape, let's keep in mind community. We had Pat Frank, who was wonderful clerk of court. And under Pat Frank, when she retired, you had Doug Blake running for clerk's office, Cindy Stewart. Let's keep in mind that when Doug Blake decided to run, we have Cindy Stewart today. Let's keep in mind that we had, just because you're under someone, I hope the community know the phenomenal job that Cindy's doing. She was a school board member. I mean, school board member. She's doing a phenomenal job in the clerk's office. Lisa is an attorney. Lisa's private practice. And I am saying to our community that I really hope that we get it right. Come August 20th, come July 18th when vote by mail ballots go out, I pray we get it right. Because if we don't get it right this time, we're going to be in trouble for a whole nother 4 years. We need to get it right. Nancy Millian, phenomenal. She had been there, phenomenal. and she's took it over. She's done a great job. Doug Blake, nice guy, been there 25 years. But we got Cindy Stewart, who's doing a phenomenal job. Let's make sure that we know that we need someone that's going to run that office and understand what's running an office look like to serve the community and treat people like they should be treated. I'm not convinced that Rocky understands that people deserve to be treated like human beings, because you don't talk to anybody that way. And if somebody coached him to say, go to tea conversations, chop Lisa head off, step on her, humiliate her, and make her feel like nothing, he needs to look at them and say, you absolutely told me wrong. Because at the end of the day, Lisa deserves to be respected and honored for the practice of what she has done. And the service, private practice, is yet service for our community. And I hope that our community know that we need a public defender's office that's going to actually treat clients the way they need to be treated and actually fight for them in the court process and not be buddy system with the state attorney and everybody else. It's a problem here. We need to fix it.
Okay, so
yeah,
go.
I have a question, Lisa. I mean, I've been in the room with you guys on several different occasions at several different events, and this seems to be something that came out of nowhere, out of left field. Do you have any clue as to why it happened, where it happened, or what was going on that day? And I think that personally, there's a couple things I see just from the conversation here and from what I've seen online is, first of all, we always need change. Nothing should stay stagnant because technology changes so quickly. We blink our eyes and it's all different. But what my question is this behavior, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree kind of thing, that this is something that other people have seen in the past and it just happened to happen. It just happened to happen in public this time. But I was just curious if you had any clue as to why it came. It seems like it came out of left field for the people in the audience. Maybe you have a better clue about why it happened when it did.
The irony is astounding, frankly, because he was yelling about negative campaigning. So when you think in terms of, accusing me of negative campaigning while he's, alienating a room of 50 people because he's yelling about how horrible I am. I have worked very hard to be professional, to be respectful. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be critical of things that I see going on in the office that need to be changed. And so I think that, and I feel badly, to be quite honest with you. It's not easy to criticize folks. It's not the way that I was raised. But at the end of the day, this isn't personal. It is criticism of an office that affects tens of thousands of people and over 100 lawyers in the office. And those lawyers, as Haiti said, they deserve to be treated with respect. The job that they do is tremendously difficult every single day. And not being able to go back to the office and feel as though you're supported and understood and trusted by the people for whom you work. I remember when I went to work for Julie, I remember a person in her administration telling me, Lisa, one of your jobs every day that you're here is to make Julie Holt look good. And I took that to heart. I did, because her name is on every pleading that goes out, that's filed by you, and it's very difficult to be committed to your boss when you're not getting that commitment back. That's not to say that these lawyers don't still work their behinds off and do a great job every single day. Can things improve? Sure. Can communication with the community get better? Absolutely.
So did they do away with the standard of making her look good? Because it doesn't sound like at the teen conversation thing, she was made to look good.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, they dropped that bar. And I said to Lisa, and I'll say this, Stephanie, and you when we did an interview with Johnny Bush for school board,
That's right.
I asked the big question: when you're running against an incumbent, or when you're running against somebody, ask yourself the question: what will you do different? What is the purpose of you running?
Right.
If you're not going to do anything different, and you don't have a problem with nothing the person that's sitting there doing, why are you running?
Point. What's the point?
Right. That, listen, I said that at a recent forum. You need to ask yourself, why do you think I'm doing this? I have a successful practice where I have the opportunity to make a difference in people's lives every day. And I'm running for public defender because without another candidate on the ballot, things will remain the same and things need to change. And ask yourself, if a person is willing to take on the type of attitude and say the things that were said at Tea and Conversation in a public forum with people, presumably that person is trying to convince that they should support him, and that's the demeanor that you see, ask yourself what kind of demeanor is seen by the young lawyers behind closed doors when maybe they've done something they shouldn't have done, or they need some better training, or something has happened that is of concern. Because listen, you've got young lawyers, things are going to go wrong. I made mistakes when I worked at the public defender's office, and I remember that I would go straight to Julie's office and say, before you hear this from somebody else, this is what happened in court today. I could have done that better. So ask yourself, what that looks like behind closed doors, if that's what you're seeing in a public forum when he's attempting to influence voters.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that you are wanting to implement should you win this position. Technology. Let's talk about technology. I heard a little clip that I might play in the next couple of minutes where he says that they're going to keep the office non-political. I laughed because he's suggesting that they're not going to be political, but they are political. Holt is political.
Democrats running.
Yeah. So listen, I'm going to show you clip. Holt in 2016, she supported Mark Ober publicly, and then when he lost and Andrew won, there's an article that it's been scrubbed from or taken down from St. Pete blog, but I kept a copy, and she had dropped, I think, the headline from Mitch Perry where she was effusively praising Warren, threw Mark under the bus, and she has talked against Rick Scott when he took the death penalty cases from Aramis Ayala, the former prosecutor. Let's go ahead and show that. So Julianne Holt expresses concerns about Rick Scott's move on Aramis Ayala. She has endorsed Joe Citro. I don't know what Tampa City Council does for the public defender's office, but this is what he is saying to a crowd of voters who have to make a decision. Should we vote for this guy or should we vote for Lisa McLean?
Brancato, and then we'll come back and Ms. Lopez will answer the question now. Sorry, that wasn't clear.
I want to take this time to provide some distinguishing factors between the state attorney's office and the public defender's office. We run our office non-politically, and under my administration, it's going to remain how it has over the last 20 years when I've been there working with Ms. Holt. We're going to focus on the politics of running a great law office. We're going to save the taxpayers money by doing innovative things like we have, like having paperless practice that allowed us to get through the COVID-19 pandemic and keep the system moving because we had the computers and the paperless files and we're ahead of the game. Like having our client portal where we send documents to our clients electronically through a portal so we don't end up having to copy paper, send it, have it returned back. I pledge to you that in this bipartisan race that's going to be in August, that I will keep the politics to the courtroom and to running a good law office, and I'm not going to get involved in things that the office is not involved with. Thank you.
So he must have been paying attention when his mentor has been doing that in the past, not 20 years. that we can see, she's involved in politics. So to say that they're not involved in politics, that to me is at best, he's not paying attention to what his mentor's doing, or worse. So there's that. Talk to us about the technology and what you, how are you going to make the office different, better, and build on the good things that Holt has done. She's done good things, but what other changes do you envision in implementing should you win?
Yeah, so they are, they are using artificial intelligence to some degree at this point through a program called Axon, which is very much connected. And I'm sure you know this from having received body cam video yourself. And so this particular program that they are using now helps them look at body cam video, which is super important and a great idea because, as anybody knows who's done that, body cam video it's extremely important, but it is also it's a very tedious process to review all of the body cam video in a case, even a case that may be as simple as a DUI as opposed to a robbery or a burglary or a murder case. DUI cases have hours and hours of body cam video, so they do have the ability to do that now. But I'm talking about embracing AI more fully, and there is a single public defender's office, to my knowledge, in the state of Florida right now, and it's down south, that is using AI to review discovery. That particular program can do timelines, can do summaries. Imagine the time saving there. And I want to make something very clear. We're not talking about embracing technology for the sake of being able to say, hey, we're really super cool and we're cutting edge and we've embraced technology. The reason for doing this is to bring a work-life balance to the lawyers in the office, so that these are young people that are overburdened with extraordinary caseloads. Some of them don't have a ton of experience, and they are struggling to stay afloat. When I hear stories about young lawyers that are seen, crying in their offices about the fact that they're so overwhelmed because they want to do a great job and there's just not enough hours in the day. So that is the reason to embrace artificial intelligence. I've also talked about designing an app. And, there was a particular forum where my opponent was like, well, Lisa doesn't know anything about the office because we already have an app. I'm here to tell you that the public defender's office does not have an app. They have a portal that allows them to communicate via email with their clients. That is not an application that any particular person, whether it be a client or a community member, can go to the Google store or the Apple store and download on their phone, because in spite of the clientele of the public defender's office being indigent, those folks have cell phones. Everyone has a cell phone. Homeless people have cell phones because it's their lifeline. Okay? If that's the only bill you have, trust me when I tell you, that's the bill they're paying, because it makes a difference in their life. And it would give an individual the ability to, on their own terms, not when they get a link that expires in 30 days or whatever it is that might be happening, it allows a client on their own terms to interact with their lawyer, to know who their lawyer is, to know the best way to contact their lawyer, to know who their judge is, to be able to view their discovery. That is so important, because I think we can all agree that knowledge is power. And when you are charged with a crime, the trauma of dealing with that situation, you don't also need to be dealing with this idea of, I haven't talked to my public defender in 6 weeks. I don't know who my PD is. I have no idea what's going on in my case. So an app would allow you to do that. And then lastly, and then I will stop talking, one of the things that I talked about at Tiger Bay was this idea, and this has been done before. Okay. I'm not inventing the wheel here. I'm talking about the ability to corroborate with other agencies, whether it be Bay Area Legal Services, the clerk's office, the property appraiser's office, Nancy Milan's office, to be able to raise the money to have a bus of sorts that travels to the underserved parts of the community and gets the people, some of whom may be represented by the public defender's office, gets them clothing that they need, food that they need, medical services that can be provided on the bus. And when I talked about this at Tiger Bay, when I was talking about medical services in particular, I was talking about the possibility of that bus being able to provide vaccines to children, to adults that need vaccinations. What a great thing that the public defender's office would have an opportunity to be involved with. And I think that Elvis would join me in appreciating that that sort of thing would go a long way in improving the relationship that the community has with the public defender's office. And that idea was turned on its head to the point where it is now jokingly referred to as the vaccine bus. Who wants to drive the vaccine bus? The vaccine bus was made fun of at Tea and Conversation during the rant. And, you know, I'm trying to do something good here, right? It's like what Elvis said. Listen, anybody that runs for public office, these are the things that we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to serve. Service is in my DNA. My parents, we lived in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house in South Florida when I was young, and we still took in people that didn't have any place else to live until they could get on their feet. That's the kind of family that I was raised in. That's the kind of thing that I'm trying to accomplish. It's my desire to give back on a full-time basis, why I'm willing to forego the money that I'm able to make in private practice and walk into the public defender's office and try to make a difference on a daily basis, not only by increasing communication, making sure that the skill level is where it needs to be, and making these young lawyers feel good about what they do because they're supported and trusted.
I want to say this. I'm not close friends with Lisa. I know her professionally and have known her professionally for a long time, many years. And I can say that I've never seen, sometimes you see people, particularly attorneys, where it's not the best temperament or personality. And then all of a sudden they may want to run for office and all of a sudden they become super nice, and they're courting your support and da 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 da. Lisa has always been the same. Always, always, always. I haven't had that much interaction with Rocky. Every now and again, very brief. I can say that there was a private conversation, but I'm not going to share because it was private, where it took a little bit of a nosedive. Okay. But I think Lisa will make a great public defender. I think that there's been an administration that, although they've done great things, I was there. I got good training for the year that I was there. I left because I was micromanaged, where it was oppressive to me. And I went to work for Bob Dillinger, who recently passed away. So sad. I was thinking of him yesterday. I was saddened because that was like the ideal. It wasn't perfect. There's no perfect office, but it was, you were allowed to be an adult and an attorney and to go fly, soar, do your thing. And if you need help, there's support here. Come talk to us. We'll help you. There were weekly meetings if you needed to. But that was the difference. And I resigned from PD 13 where I only lasted a year, and I went across the bridge to Pinellas and moved altogether. I was living in Hillsborough and I moved to Pinellas because that was my first job out of law school, and it was something else. There were good moments, and then there were the moments where I thought, yeah, I'm being too micromanaged. I can't thrive like that. I did well as a assistant public defender in Pinellas County under Bob Dillinger. And I think there's a need for a change. There's a need for a change. And so, do you want to talk about anything else? I know that we kind of toyed with the idea of mentioning the indigency application and whatnot. There's a lot of issues in regards to that. I would love for Rocky Bronk, your opponent, to reach out and say, I want to talk about some of the things you all discussed today and respond. And then I'd like to ask questions about their portal. And it's like innovative. They didn't come up with the portal. They implemented something that someone already had created. But give me 1 second.
Oh,
And I know who this is. Hey, hi. Thanks for calling in. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, you're on. You're live.
Hey, Haiti, Elvis, and Stephanie, and look who has this beautiful hair, Lisa McLean.
I was about to
Right?
comment. I said, let me not start commenting on the hair too, because the people are going to say, oh, you're totally biased in her favor. But yes, the curls are especially spectacular today. I got to say.
They really are. I just have one question. And it's something that has always disturbed me. And I used to see Reverend Willie Dixon. He said it all the time in the community that we defendants have to stop taking plea deals from the public defender's office. And that is known for just making defendants take pleas instead of challenging the law, challenging their civil rights, challenging the constitutional law. And, and I was there front and center when Mr. Brancato said he wouldn't change anything in that office. And that was disheartening. And I like the way as we say in the community, the way you clapped back and said that it will start on August the 21st. I love that because that office needs an overhaul. The things that I've heard, just being a civil rights leader and advocate here in the Tampa area, and have worked alongside with many dozens of public defenders in cases in that office, not everyone is bad. And I have to say this, that Rocky, at a couple points, he was able to help me with those. But now I'm trying to figure out whether or not that was even disingenuous because you were running, office, that you even gave me the time of the day for those two cases that I had you to look into. But it's troubling as a whole in the community. I don't care. I can bring in a room with literally every civil rights activist and leader here in the Tampa Bay area, and we will all say in unison, Lisa, when you win this seat, what will you be able to do to ensure us that we don't have to be, that defendants won't be forced to take pleas instead of fighting these cases, waiting for justice?
Thanks for calling in, Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle, I think that's about communication, because I think that sometimes the lawyers are not spending the time they need to spend to communicate with the client. That clients may be making decisions without having all the information that they need, such that when it's over, they feel like they've been forced to do something they didn't want to do. I really think it boils down to individual communication, but I think we also have to look at communication with the community and our responsiveness to concerns about whether or not there are too many cases that are pleading and not enough cases that are going to trial. Because I think that we know, if you're involved in the system, that there, nationally, plea deals, it's 95% typically of the cases are resolved with a plea rather than a trial. And if we're going to make a change in that, and if we're going to understand why that's happening, we've got to communicate, and not just communicate with the individual clients, as I said, but also communicate with the communities that are facing these issues more than some others. And one of the things that I've proposed is that the office needs to have a full-time community liaison. And I'm not talking about somebody that goes around to, meetings and takes pictures. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a lawyer that is available to address the concerns of the community that we serve. I mentioned to someone the other day that asked me, what's the first thing that you're going to do when you walk into the office? And my answer was, take the door off the hinges. And, what I'm trying to convey by that is to make sure that people know that my door will be open that I am always available to have conversations about how we can do things better. But that, I'm one person. And so I think that, if I have this opportunity to become the public defender, I want to have people around me that are just as invested in the idea of communication as I am.
And because I can speak from experience. That did not, and I don't know if it exists now, but when I was there, that didn't exist. Holt's door was not off the hinges. It's like, it was almost like security, like she was the president of the United States. You had to go through a bunch of people to even get to that door if you wanted to. That's the truth. Everyone knew that. I don't know if that's changed. But Bob Dillinger, I'm going to recall him again. That is a promise that he made when he first ran against his former boss, Jagger. He said he was going to have an open door policy, and that was true. That was one of the first things that he did. He took the actual door off the hinges, and I can tell you from experience, as an assistant public defender, his door was always open. You can walk right by and see him at his desk and look in, and he would talk to you and say, wave you in. What do you want to talk about? That happened.
The reality is that you're the boss, okay? As the public defender, you're the boss, and you're accountable for everything that happens in the office. But you're just like the people that you're working with.
Public servant.
Exactly. And, the way that you express that to the people that are maybe out there trying to make you look good every day is that you're giving them the same thing back. You're giving them the same respect back. And one of the ways
you have to extend the scepter and say, may I approach Her Highness or Your Highness? May I approach?
Well, I would say maybe that has changed a little drastic. In all defense, not to defend Julianne Holt at all, but I have to just be honest and say that anytime that we as a community, and I'll speak for myself, that had needed her,
of course,
pick up the phone and call directly. She calls, she answers, and she's very punctual with taking care of things.
You know what, though, but because you're a high-profile community activist, and of course you are going. Listen, that's the truth, Elvis. You're going to get that attention.
But what I would think, if Julianne Holt was on the ballot today, she will have my allegiance and my support. Again, I don't believe. At the end of the day, we must keep in mind Julianne Holt is not on the ballot. Rocky Brancato is.
Okay, but he said that he's going to follow in her footsteps. So that means he's saying that he's going to continue on with how that office is run, how she's run it, and continue on. So she kind of is on the ballot because he's going to do the same things she's done.
Well, we see DeSantis tried that, and he couldn't even get no votes around the world. You cannot be Donald Trump. At the end of the day, you can try him. Sometimes what you look at, when certain people, perfect example, if I am the pastor of my church and my assistant says, I'm going to do just what pastor did, nobody can do just what pastor did because they're not going to respect and see you the same. It's disrespect when you do it. It was a father when I did it. I raised these babies up to become grown. It's a difference. You cannot do what I do. If you don't have your own vision and your own tenacity and what you're going to do to make it better than me, because the person come behind me should be doing greater works than what I've done.
I understand, Elvis, but he has already said that there's no change that needs to be made.
That's why we're voting him out. We don't want him because he's not capable of doing the job, and Lisa is. So therefore, we're voting for Lisa as a public defender in Hillsborough County, August 20th. Please vote by mail. Go to the polls. Tell mama them, everybody, Lisa is our candidate for public defender. God bless you. May heaven smile upon you. May the Lord bless you real good.
Okay, Stephanie, you want to say anything to wrap
Tell us
up?
how you really feel, Elvis. Jeez.
Right?
You're confusing me.
God. So listen,
Well,
Lisa, do you want to? It's 5:50.
Right,
We
it's-
ran over
it's
time.
we
That's
have to,
quite
but-
fine. That's quite fine. We talked about a lot of
Yeah.
things. Do you want to
We-
add it,
a
or
lot
did we
of-
leave anything out, Lisa?
Now, listen, I just want to make it clear that it's not, my goal is not to sit around and criticize what's being done at the public defender's office. I'm not suggesting that Julie and Rocky, don't answer the phone when people call. I'm talking about what I'm trying to accomplish and the things that are important to me and how I plan to run that office when I am elected. So I just want to make that super clear, because it's never my intention for someone to get the impression from the things that I say that it's all about criticism. I think that government should be positive, and that is what I'm trying to accomplish here.
Can I ask you a
And
quick question? 30 seconds. Lisa,
no, you
how
go.
would you
Yes,
treat
a
the
minute.
people? Not
Say that
not
again?
the attorneys, but all of the community that need a public defender. How would they walk out of that office feeling? Would they feel like they have dignity? Would they
And that-
feel like
yeah.
they're respected?
And that's a good question. Actually, I remember when Andrew won, he did, I think, the quarterly community meetups. He did that. Ober, I don't think, did that. I don't remember him having done that, but Andrew Warren made that a practice that every quarter throughout the year they'd set up like a town hall situation where the community, and what Elvis is saying is true. There's a way that you're treating actually your employees and then engaging the community. That's true.
Well, so how do you show respect? You show respect by communicating. You show respect by treating people the way that you would want to be treated. You show respect by
Disagree
I want
without
people
going ham on you.
listen, when people come to my office, I want them to leave feeling better than when they walked in. And sometimes you don't have great news for clients because, some cases are not great cases. But at the end of the day, people feel respected and understood when you communicate with them about why their case looks the way that it does, what your concerns are, what the pros and cons are, and they walk away feeling empowered because they understand what's happening. Elvis and I were talking about this the other day. You're not always going to give great news to folks. And sometimes you may need to enter a plea rather than go to trial because you have too much to risk. But the difference is, clients not understanding why this happened because they're not having sufficient communication. It's not just, hey, I met with my PD out in the hall, 5 minutes before, they wanted me to enter a plea. That's when people walk away feeling as though they were strong-armed into doing something. And listen, there are a lot of players in that scenario. Okay, this is not
That's
just
true.
about, this is the state attorney waiting to the last minute to make an offer. This is the judge, forcing you to, hey, if you don't do this now, blah blah, whatever it is that they might say. That's that.
Or
that
the
pressure
the client not following up and making sure that there's an appointment that's scheduled.
Sure, that happens too. And that's one of the reasons why I think the app is so important, because I do think that you need to appreciate that when these lawyers are handing their business cards to clients, there's a good chance that card goes missing before the client even makes it to the car. Okay. So, that's why you can't rely on that. You can't rely on the client being able to always do things the way that you would do them. You need to meet people where they are.
That's right.
So
Would your door be open to the people also, not just your attorneys?
Of course, I'm not kidding you when I talk about the door off the hinges, Elvis.
No,
I mean,
because if I'm walking in and the public defender is my public defender, I felt she disrespected me. She said something rubbed me wrong. She wasn't kind to me. She made me feel less as a person because I'm broke. And I want to go and I want to talk to Juliet Holt right now. It ain't happening.
Yeah,
When I be able to talk to you, Lisa, will there be a process that I, as a regular individual, have access to be able to request to speak to the public defender through email, through that app? However, she will hear me
Yes.
And understand me, because I the one voted for her, not her attorneys.
Yep, absolutely. The buck stops with me. I am the person accountable for the work being done by the office. I am the person that needs to be interacting with the community, with the clients, if they are not getting the kind of responsiveness that they would expect from any lawyer, whether that lawyer is free or they're paying that lawyer $500,000. The service should be the same. The client should feel as though the work that's being done is the same kind of work that would be done if they had paid money for it.
Look, let's wrap up. I'm going to say something good. One of the many things, Julian Holt has done a lot of good things in her tenure as a public defender. So this isn't a criticism session, okay? But there's no one that's perfect. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. There are things that one can improve in your job. Me as an attorney, there are things that I say, I can do this better. We're constantly growing. If not, you stop. You stay stagnant. Look at one good thing that she did a couple of years ago, and I think she was the second one in the state as a public defender. She implemented the equitable sentencing analysis system, which tries to make sure that there's equity in sentencing, okay, as it relates to races, genders, all of that. She did that. That was a good thing. That's one of many things. So I don't want this to appear like we're being critical, but look, Chad Chronister, he's a good guy. Yes.
Phenomenal.
Sure. And you know what? There's sometimes that I relay things that are critical. And you know what? His response is always super professional. Doesn't get mad. Very gracious in talking about things. That's a good trait of a leader. When you can accept criticism, you may sit at the table and say, I don't look at it your way, but why get mad? Why get angry? And I'm going to pick up my toys. I'm leaving and I don't want to play anymore.
I completely agree.
That you can't, if you're a leader, you have to go ahead and you have to say, okay, that's your perspective. I don't agree with it. Here's why. Why do you think that that's a better way? But if you have a fragile ego and that bothers you, and then you're going to put up a wall and you don't want to talk to the person anymore, and you start reacting with rage or with anger or going publicly and just losing it when everybody has a perception of you, wow, this guy's, super docile, mild, and all of a sudden you lose it.
I would say to my entire church, and I'll post it. I'm going to post it on my line. My entire church, my entire community, anyone that knows that I'm advocating, I plan to win school board. I will continue to advocate for all of the students, whether they're in the legal process or whatever. But I can tell you this, if we don't get out and vote for the public defender in August the 20th, and we don't get out and get serious about this, I'm telling you, there's a possibility that after this election, if we don't get Lisa into the public defender's office, I'm sure they won't have no more contact with the public defender. I'm pretty sure.
No, because you know what? It'll be a 4-year stint, and they'll
have me on the block list for 4 years.
Yeah.
All right.
Block list.
All right.
4 years.
We have 1 minute. Wrap it up.
Talking to us, Lisa.
I thought I already did that.
Well, we love you. We love you. We love you. Hey, go on Elvis, number4schoolboard.com. Vote for me, District 5. I hope to get your support.
All right.
Everyone have a great rest. You need to say something, Lisa?
Nope.
No, I was just going to say thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm glad you came on again and again. Your opponent is welcome here. We hear from both sides. This is a fair forum, fair platform. So if he wants to come on, he's more than welcome to come on. Hideo Oropesa with my co-host Stephanie. Thanks, Elvis, for joining us.
Thank
Lisa, best of success in this race.